Welcome to the Beyond Physio podcast, where we help you move, excel, and inspire others on your journey to your next level with knowledge and advice from experts and testimonials from our like-minded community. On today's podcast, I interviewed Roxanna Perdue, who is the founder of the Swim Parent Podcast, which is on iTunes and on Spotify and on YouTube. On our episode, we talked about what it's like being a swim parent, the trials and tribulations that are associated with being a parent of an all year round athlete, and some tips for parents who are new to the sport of swimming, who want to get some advice and tips on what to expect, and hopefully some guidance on what they should and should not be doing as parents, being the supportive role that they have for their child as they get involved more into swimming. So hopefully you enjoy this episode and find it useful for you if you are a parent of a swimmer. Roxanna, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I was excited to be on your podcast the other day.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. That was fun.
It was fun.
That was fun.
With Dr. Brad and Dr. Megan, just talking about swimmers and how physical therapy can be of benefit to swimmers, both on the post-injury side, but more importantly, we talked about yesterday, as parents who are looking for ways to keep their kids on the path of swimming towards college. What are some things that they can do to help keep them on that path without falling off because of injury and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. So we covered a lot of those topics, which is great yesterday. The reason why I want to have you on today is because we have interviewed many coaches of elite level teams of different sports, but we haven't heard from parents. And I love your podcast, the Swim Parent Podcast, for anyone listening. And this podcast is great because it does address the different trials and tribulations of being a parent of a swimmer, because there's a lot that goes into this.
Yes.
And being that we have worked with a club up in New Jersey that is a swim club, there's a lot of things that have to happen that a lot of parents who don't know about swimmers have to come into. So let's talk about, first of all, your podcast and what you're trying to do with your podcast. Yeah,
I just started. The first episode launched this week, but the reason for starting it is because my daughter started swimming 7 years ago, and I say we because I feel like I entered in with
yes.
her. There was just a lot to learn. I didn't grow up swimming competitively. I didn't know anything about that world. And sure, at first it's like you're just dropping them off and they're learning to swim. But as she got more and more into it, enjoyed it more, started going up the different levels and groups, there's just so much to learn at every level. And if you don't know anything about swimming, it can be overwhelming. One of my first main goals with the podcast was to just be a place where parents can get information about swimming, learn new things, have some great conversations. I don't want swimming to be exclusive. It feels like it can be. It's just for people who have someone in their family who swam or some connection, so it can be this tight little club. I would love for it to be more inclusive and not intimidating to people who might be interested in putting their kids into competitive swimming. So I hope every parent would put their kids in swim lessons, because I do think that is
a
life-saving skill
for sure.
But then if from there their kid wants to move into competitive swimming, I want to have a place where people can come, learn how to do it well. And then I just think a lot of the conversations have changed, even in the 7 years that my daughter has been swimming, on how to be a healthier sport parent and not be the kind of parents that are ruining youth sports across the country.
That happens? I didn't know that happens.
I'd like to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are a couple of the main reasons.
Yeah. And it's funny because we spoke yesterday on your podcast about how I think parents do have the best of intentions.
Yes.
They often do. It's whether if they see some sort of talent in their child, they want to really help that child get to the best that it can be. Mm-hmm. But sometimes along the way, we actually do more damage than good. And one of the things that I'll never forget, our head coach for my girls who did travel volleyball, was, parents, there's a reason why we put your girls in a certain order or playtime. Don't take it personally. The best you can do as a parent is to praise them afterwards for things they did right.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that advice because I didn't want to be part of the problem, as you said.
Yeah, and it's easy to do. We get excited. It's excited to see that they dropped time. They got a certain place in the finish, and won an award. It's just so excited. It'd be like, well, what's next? What else might
Exactly.
are they going to make it to the Olympics?
0 to 60.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick. Yeah, I like having these conversations that just they're informative. It's like, hey, let's calm down. Let's just let them have fun. It's very easy to ruin it for the kids and the coaches and the whole organizations as a whole.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things we talked about was how much pressure our own kids put on themselves. And they're probably feeling pressure from coaches if they're not swimming up to
Correct.
par, or maybe from parents as well, unknowingly. And so I think the best thing we can do as parents and for us as providers is be the advocate for our child
Yeah.
and help them to understand that, listen, this performance isn't, if you had a bad performance, this is not the end all be all. This is one event that you did, but there's much room to improve and you have plenty of time to do that.
And really focusing on the life skills that they're learning, the dedication, the discipline,
Teamwork.
the teamwork. Yes, the just being a good sportsman, good sportsmanship. There's so much to learn from this experience. They're learning how to move their bodies. They're learning how to eat well, how to plan, how to prepare. So I think when we focus on really the more important things, we can take some of the pressure off of outcomes, times, results, placement and finishes,
Definitely.
etc.
Now, coming into this as a newer swim parent, if you will, were there any surprises that you came across in this journey where you're thinking, wow, I did not know it was going to be like this? Any of those kind of experiences come to mind?
One thing I didn't know about swimming was how technical it is. Just it with the different strokes, there's so many ways to get disqualified in a swim meet.
Yeah.
I think most people don't know that about swimming. You see the Olympic swimmers every 4 years and they make it look so smooth and easy, but it is a very technical sport and there's, like I said, so many ways to get, if you don't touch the wall just right in this stroke, you're going to be disqualified and your time won't count. So I think that's something that a lot of people who don't know swimming don't know, and it could benefit from understanding. They might enjoy the sport more if they understood more of what goes into swimming.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
How about, like, I know one of the things that surprised me as a volleyball parent was just the nature of the day at a tournament and maybe for the meets.
Yes.
I did not know it was going to be like literally all freaking day. How did you find it for swimming?
Swimming is usually not just one day meet. It's 3 or 4 day meets. A lot of times they're out of town. We're pretty lucky that most of my daughter's meets are at her pool, but for the travel meets and for a lot of the teams that do travel, it's a lot of time. It's a huge expense. It's 4 day. It's a whole weekend. You're not doing anything else.
Hotels aren't paid for either. No, definitely.
It's consuming.
Yeah.
So that is, yeah, you got to know what you're getting into as far as that. And especially if you're committing to year-round club swimming, because short
Yes.
course is August through March-ish, and long course is April through August, July.
It's a long season. Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about how one of the best things you can do for swimmers, especially at a young age, is to have them not specialize. Do you find that even in your club that a lot of parents have already gotten the specialized route early on?
I think people are getting the message now that it's better if they don't. I don't think people were having that conversation 7 years ago when my daughter started. I might have made some different choices about, she loves swimming, so it was easy to just let her do it. But I think if I had that conversation with some people early on, I might have said, hey, let's take a few months off here and there to try these other sports or just a little more.
Yeah.
I do think people are making that decision now for that reason, to not specialize. And the club where my daughter swims actually allows that. There are levels where if you play other sports, you can swim in this group where you're only committing to a few days a week, not every day, not 6 days. So they're making room for that, which I really appreciate. But yeah, my daughter's at a point where kids are starting to enter high school and really specialize, and there isn't time for that.
Yeah.
Some kids still do, but she's made the choice that this is what she wants to dedicate to. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I know that we have talked about how dryland is really important. Strength training the evidence is there that when athletes incorporate strength training into their season, that they are more resilient from injuries and more protected in that way. It sounds like you also have a dedicated dryland coach for your teams.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I think there's two actually. Yeah, they have a great team there. They have a great room, dryland room, great facility, equipment, and that's just something that's built into the year-round practices. 3 days, my daughter's group happens to do it 3 days a week.
That's
So,
great.
Yeah.
For any parents out there, if your child is an athlete at any age, particularly swimmer, and we'll talk about that in a minute, why it's important, but the dryland conditioning is really important, what they're doing outside of their sport. This is what's going to keep them in a really good physical state to be able to endure all the stuff they do in their training for their particular sport. So if you don't already have someone either working with your team or working with your child individually to get that strength training done and programmed, I would really advise you to do that. Again, like I said before, the evidence is very clear that kids who strength train often are less prone to injuries. And if we're looking at your child as a potential for a Division I school or scholarship of any kind, the best way we can do that is keep our kids healthy physically. Now, you as a parent, very involved with your daughter, what are some things that you help your daughter with as far as keeping her emotionally, mentally in check?
Yeah, I feel like that's become more important again as she's entering a little more elite level and really wanting to just buckle down and focus and do well in the next few years. She particularly wants to think about swimming in college. That's where her mind's at. And it's important. Sometimes I don't know what to say. And we actually have a mental trainer who works with the kids in our team also, Dr. Nori Panisi. Yeah. I've interviewed her for the podcast. The episode hasn't come out yet, but she works with the kids and parents. She works with the parents too.
That's great.
Because
they need it more.
Yes, like we started with, parents can really ruin the experience for the kids if we're not careful.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much, right? You just like a half comment on a performance or even remotely seeming disappointed by something they just put their whole heart into. It's devastating. It doesn't take much, right?
No.
So we really have to be as parents, have to be one step ahead of that, be thinking about it, be having those conversations. I found that less is more.
Imagine that.
You can just tell your swimmer you enjoy watching them swim. You can comment on things that are in their control. And this is what Dr. Nori has helped us with. You can comment on, I know that you've been working on your flip turns and they looked great in that race. Great job focusing on that. I know that's something you've been working on. So something that is in their control that you know they've been working on, I think those things are great, but maybe less on the outcome, whether positive or negative.
Yes.
Because if you're always making a big deal every time they drop and then it gets quiet when they...
And oh my gosh.
It's little things like that. So it just doesn't come naturally. I definitely have tried to put some effort into thinking about my response, my physical response, my words, my actions, and trying to do better.
Yeah. It's just funny how you said less is more. And I agree with you where I sometimes felt, and this goes to all parts of parenting. Parenting itself is hard.
It is.
Now you have an athlete who is maybe doing very well and it becomes another level of difficulty, I think, sometimes. But not always praising when they did the right thing, because they did the right thing, which is great. But getting used to seeing praise as like in the middle, on the ground, so that they're not always expecting it. At the same time, they're also confident in themselves. One of the things that I used to say to ask my daughter after she had a good game, a good match, would be like, hey, how did it make you feel? I think I did this well. Oh, it's great. So have their own self-analysis so that they can actually tell me where they could have improved or where they think they did really well.
Yes.
And sometimes even that was challenging, I felt, actually, Roxana, because
Yeah.
I remember one match in particular, a tournament, our team lost, but she played a great game. And I even had to show her on my phone, like, did you see how you served? She was like, oh, I didn't even see that. They had to like really reel her back in from like her feeling like she was at fault for the team not doing well because she had an important role there. But that kind of stuff I also felt was really critical.
And timing is important as well, which I've learned the hard way. Like when they get in the car after a meet, it's not a good time to really say a whole lot. Just ask them, how are you feeling? Did you have fun? Do you want to go get some ice cream?
That's right.
Do you want some food? Do you need some
Yes.
carbs?
Yeah.
And less about any comment on what, and then maybe wait for what they've given you and when they're ready to talk.
Yeah.
So timing is important.
Huge. Definitely. Talking about meals and carbs, are there things that your club has actually done as far as guiding your kids on what to eat before or after swim meets or anything like that?
A little bit. There's been a little bit, but I just interviewed Chris Newport because I wanted some help from the
Yeah.
Endurance Edge. I wanted some help with that and just needing to know, where does protein fit in? When do you do that? Is all sugar bad? How many carbs how many calories do they? It's just, there's so much to know.
So much.
There's a lot of information on the internet. It's hard to know what to trust.
Definitely.
I do know the coaches have really pushed them to have protein after a workout or a meet for recovery.
Yes.
I think getting the timing in between prelims and finals, that's something that's unique to swimming and maybe track. They swim hard for prelims. They have a few hour break,
then they go back,
2
yeah.
or 3, sometimes 4, but sometimes less hours, where they need to refuel, recover, rest a little, and then come back and swim stronger usually.
Yes.
So that it's important to know, where does that fit in? How much protein? How many carbs? Hydration. Have you had enough to drink today? Yeah.
All the
So
stuff.
there is a lot. It's pretty overwhelming. So.
Definitely. One of the things that we have told our athletes, swimmers in particular, or any sport that requires quite a bit of endurance actually, is just make sure they have enough carbs too, and the general volume of food as well. And sometimes a quick way to do that would be through some liquid, so some sort of shake or anything like that. And obviously you don't want to too much, otherwise you get bloated, and that could not feel
Right.
great during a meet as well. The other thing that we have found to be helpful for swimmers in between prelims and the actual finals is just centering and also getting some mobility in there, because I would say that a lot of times when you're in between, you will stiffen up a bit. So making sure that you're loose as you can be, but not overly flexed or overly stretched, I should say, because that could actually weaken your muscles too for performance too.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. That's a good tip. I'll be writing that down.
Yeah.
Because you have to get into a routine. I think
Yeah.
that really helps the kids. Every time I have a meet, this is what I do after prelims. This is how I fuel. This is how I rest. This is how I stretch and move and just keep my muscles from not being stiff. And then you add like a travel meet in there, and there's
man.
even more
That's a lot.
unknown variables. The places to
Yeah.
eat are smaller options. You're not
Limited.
eating at home.
Yeah.
It changes things. So the more experience you and the athlete can have getting into those routines of, when we travel, this is what we do. When we're not traveling, this is how we. So just so that there is a routine that you can fall into and know that you're checking all the boxes of what needs to happen.
Definitely. I think what's really interesting about you too, Roxanna, as a parent, is that not all parents of swimmers are actually swimmers themselves. And I think it was really cool that you actually took it upon yourself to get into swimming. What did that do for you as a parent, and how did that change your perspective on swimming in general and what your daughter has to do in training?
I started learning to swim before she was swimming competitively, just so that I wouldn't scare. I had enough fear of the water. I didn't want to scare my young kids as they were learning, just with my own fears in the water. So I was running a lot at the time, and so it was a great cross training
For sure.
activity for me. But in the last couple of years, with my daughter swimming, and we're at this pool a lot, right? She's driving her to practice, and I
Second
just
home.
had this thought, sure would be convenient if I swam too, because here we are.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, I started trying to get back into it, learn a little more, built up enough confidence to swim with a master's group. I started a year ago, so it's been exactly a year swimming with a master's group. And I've really enjoyed it, and I've learned a lot. I think you don't realize how big a 50-meter pool is
Oh my gosh, the long course is so
until
hard.
you
So
until
hard.
you were in the starting area, and you got to make it to the other side and back. It's
Definitely.
far. It's a lot.
It is.
And there's, again, it's very technical. There's a lot to think about while you're swimming. To swim, breathing is important. Staying calm. If you're not calm, it messes up your breathing. And
Yeah.
there's a lot. And I really appreciate what the kids are doing, kids who swim, what they're doing, what they're processing, I'm just in awe. I'm in awe that they can dive in, do all the things to not get disqualified. Swim fast, make it look easy, and then pop out like they barely did anything. So I don't know. I'm impressed with what they do. Me in the pool thinking about that. I'm motivated by the young swimmers.
Yeah.
And just totally impressed by what they're able to do.
That's
So,
cool.
Yeah.
I think you and I were talking about how I've been using the center mount snorkel for a while
Yes.
too. But it took me a while
Oh, yeah.
to do a flip turn with that and
Yeah.
not like choke on water, just come out just gasping for air.
Yeah.
And but that was like one of the things I saw kids doing just at speed.
Easily.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's
They don't
crazy.
even hesitate.
Not even. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Very humbling.
Yes, it is.
And my advice to parents is out there, because I know that there are parents who, and my parents are this way, not any fault to my parents, just because they were busy with work, but there were the parents who just dropped off their kids and then they'll pick them up and say, oh, how did practice go? Whatever. So it was a very kind of transactional relationship. And I did not want that for my own kids. So being involved in the travel with my girls when they were playing volleyball, being involved in their training and strength and conditioning too, when they're playing, was really helpful for me to not only see and understand the demands that they're going through during the different tournaments, but also understand what needed to be done for our girls to be successful physically, to have the stamina to last all these different tournaments over a given weekend. Do you think as parents, do you find that most of the parents involved in your daughter's club are the ones who are more involved, or are they more drop-off parents, or how do they fit in?
There's the whole range. Some people just don't have the time to stick around and watch practice or volunteer too much. Time doesn't allow it. They have busy jobs or they have other kids. There's just a long list of reasons why you can't just hang around more or volunteer more or be in some sort of role where you're contributing to the team. And then there's the parents who do have the time and do have the resources, and a lot of parents become officials. It's a way to get your service credits.
Yeah.
And you can you can get paid a little bit as well. And they just enjoy it. Be on deck, participating in the meet. I have become an announcer, so I announce at a lot of the meets. Yeah.
Really? That's cool.
You surprised?
Yeah, that's right.
I've gotten used to the microphone.
Right.
Yeah. And so I enjoy that because it's a great seat for a great view of the pool for the meet, but also it's something to do during the swim meet. There's a lot of waiting in between the prelims and finals, and not prelims and finals. There's a lot of waiting between the events.
A lot.
Right. So
For a very short event sometimes.
30 seconds, they're out, and then you got to wait another hour and a half before they swim again.
Right.
It's something to do that you're participating and you're not just getting bored. I've met a lot of other parents and coaches. I've just gotten to know more people that way, and I enjoy that. So yeah, I think there's the whole range in the club, and I think it's fine to do either one of those, because in some ways, not being too involved can be great because it gives the kids the space that they need to
perform.
You're not overbearing. And in some ways, being too involved can be a problem.
Yeah.
They're a little too much. So it's a range, and I think there's a way to do on either end. I think there's a way to do those in a healthy way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's great. Any other advice that you have to parents who are starting off? Maybe they've discovered that their child really likes swimming. How would you walk them or guide them through that process of what to expect in the years to come? Maybe 3 things to keep in mind.
I think summer swim is a great place for kids to start competing, especially in this area in North Carolina. A lot of the neighborhoods have summer swim teams.
Yeah.
It's a great way to get to know your neighbors and try out competitive swimming. And if kids like that, then you could maybe think about joining a club. Most of the big clubs have different levels that you can join in, like commitment levels. So if kids really just want to swim a few days a week, you could do that and do other sports. But yeah, once you're, okay, we're going to commit to year-round swimming, it is a lot. It's definitely a big commitment. We usually have meets once a month, They're several days long. Sometimes it's a travel meet. One thing I didn't know when my kids started swimming was just that their rate of improvement it's not just the straight line.
No linear. Yeah. Oh, definitely not. If only.
I didn't know that. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. And at some point when, I'm not saying I was disappointed, but I didn't realize she would hit a point so quickly where it's like now the rates of how much she drops time are very small. And we celebrate every 100th of a point dropped.
Easy.
We're at that place where you're like, yes, 1/100th, I'll take it, which is great. But I think I didn't know that. I didn't know how much puberty is a huge transition.
Massive. Physically, mentally, emotionally. Yes.
Of course it is. I just didn't think about that when we started. So there's a lot to know and learn and experience.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's awesome. And we talked about this yesterday, but for parents where your kids are in that stage of puberty, you may notice a drop in performance because their structures aren't catching up with the rate of growth, we'll just say. And as a result, it'll affect how their output is with their strokes. So don't be discouraged and I would encourage you to encourage your kids not to be discouraged if their times do drop or get worse, because they are physically going through transformation. And we have to just be there to support our kids through that process. That being said, there's a lot of things that can be done during that period of time, like strength training, like we talked about before, that can help speed things up a bit because now we're allowing the muscle to get in better sync with the rate of bone growth. And that's something I would definitely advise you to encourage if your child isn't already involved in some sort of dryland training themselves. So
I think one more thing too is just everyone's rate of growth is so different.
Yeah.
And once they get into these 9, 10, 11, 12 age group levels of swimming, everyone's so different. So you've got these girls who have shot up and they're super tall and they look like teenagers, but they're not yet. And they're able to swim like that. And then these boys are a little bit slower to catch up. But then when they do, so it's just different. Everyone's different. And so it can be really hard on kids and parents if they're constantly comparing their swimmers comparing themselves to someone who is just on a different growth rate, pattern, genetics. It's just, so that's a big thing to know ahead of time.
Yeah.
When you're going into that it's gonna feel like some people have an advantage that you don't, or what. And the best thing to do is you just focus on your own technique. You focus on the things you can control. We're back to that,
Exactly.
And enjoy it. Just have fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And yesterday we also talked about habits that kids can acquire that will help them. And there was a study done on elite youth athletes of all kinds. And among these things, some of these things will sound very familiar because we actually promote these in our adult population as well, but people who are active. And that is looking at factors like sleep, stress, strength training, of course, their emotional health, if they have friends, because these can really allow for your child to flourish, especially if they are going through performance plateaus, number one, or injury, number two, or if something's going on with them where they're not maybe performing at their best. But having these 5 different things in their lives will definitely ensure that they have a better chance of success at their highest potential, their highest level that they can actually achieve. So definitely would recommend that parents out there think about those things, because these are things that you and I should be doing as well. We should be checking our stress levels and making sure that we're doing things to calm ourselves down and modulate our emotions. We should be eating enough protein. We should be eating enough of food, living an active lifestyle, making sure that we do have social systems in place so that we have support when we need that. So the habits that these youth have acquired at the elite level, I think can be definitely translated to parents. So another advice I would give out there.
Yeah, I think we need to lead by example.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that is just you're sending all sorts of messages with your actions and body language and the choices you make with the kids. So I do think it's important for us to be addressing those things ourselves.
For sure, yeah.
Being healthy.
How can people find out more about the Swim Parent Podcast?
Yes. I have a website, theswimparentpod.com. I'm on Instagram at swimparentpod. I'm on YouTube at Swim Parent Pod. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and then the video version right now on YouTube.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
I'll include it in the show notes too.
Great.
Make sure. Yeah.
Great.
Roxanna, it was great to get to know
Yay.
you. I'm so glad we got to connect.
You too.
I'm looking forward to seeing how we can further your podcast, but also to be a resource for any parents or any swimmers that you know
Yes.
of who might need our help, looking for prevention or also looking for injury management.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning into today's episode. It really does mean a lot to us. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or comment if you got at least one or two helpful insights or takeaways to help you get to your next level.